If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.
Hi, it's Melanie Johnson. Thanks for coming back and joining us again. Hey, you know what? A big trend is compilation books. They've been going on for quite a while now. Some people love them, some people hate them. Well, we have Bernice Bennett with us today, who's done a few, and she's going to walk us through the pros, cons, new ways to get them done, why you should do them, and what's on the forefront and coming in that arena. Bernice, and she's a great author. She's authored 2 other books herself, an award-winning author. Bernice Bennett, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So tell us, how did you get involved in doing your first compilation book?
Well, I have to say that I give a lot of credit to Anita Henderson, because Anita Henderson observed me and her husband talking about our experiences, our family history. And she said, you all need to be writing a book. You know that you really should write a book. And you don't have to write it just by yourself. Maybe you could get a group of people to write a book. And so that was the impetus to think about a compilation book, to get others to join in that process.
Well, tell us a little, describe what a compilation book is, just in case people don't understand exactly what it is.
Right. Okay. So the one thing that people need to understand is you're talking about multiple authors that have come together to write a book around a common theme. They may have different components to add to that common theme, but that's what you're talking about. The group of people coming together, and it could be 2 or it could be 20. It's up to you to determine how many people would be involved in this process.
What's the advantage of participating in a compilation book?
Well, first of all, you don't have to write a whole book. You can only write, you're only writing your section to the book. So that's one advantage. The other is that it brings credibility to you, because right there, you're being viewed as an expert on your particular topic. You also can look at this as moving faster to the market. Some people, it may take them a year to write a book, whereas if it's a compilation book, it may not take you as long. And so that's a big plus. And then, so the visibility is there for you once you have written that book. And then you're sharing the costs with the other contributors to that book.
Yeah, that is a big thing, that doesn't cost as much to do it. And you don't have as much heavy lifting, that you're not having to do a whole book, which can sometimes be daunting to people. It's like, I can bang out a chapter. I know I can do a chapter. So tell us the disadvantage of being in a compilation book, or doing that versus doing your own book, which you've done both.
Right, I've done both. And, the disadvantage is that you may not be in sync with each other. So the big thing is that you have to have at least some experience working as a member of a team. If you've never worked on a team, then the disadvantage is that you're going to have problems collaborating with someone else. If you like being your only lonely, you need to stay the only lonely. That's one disadvantage. So you need to understand team dynamics, which is so crucial, because each of the members who are participating in this collaborative will play a role. And that role may be the role of the leader. You may have the peacekeeper that's part of that. You may have to have somebody who's going to be a part of your group that's going to be the logical person that calm people down. So you need to think about, all of the advantages and disadvantages. And again, if you've never worked on a team, you don't want to do this. This is not the place for you to spend your time.
It really is a collaborative effort. I think one of the, the advantages is you get the cross promotion of everybody. So everyone is pushing the book instead of just you doing the marketing. You've got all these other people that are marketing to their list and their social media. So that helps you get momentum along with the cost. And then I have heard for the disadvantage, like people who've done a compilation book, they're like, well, now you really need to do your own book to have like the super credibility. Like it's an extra level of credibility when the whole book is you versus the one chapter. What do you think about that?
There's definitely some validity to that statement, because after I did the compilation book, I did go on to write a book just by myself. And of course, now I'm back into coming up with a second compilation book. But certainly it will have given you some credibility, but also skills and understanding the writing process, the publication process. And for people who have never written, never published, this is a very good learning opportunity. And once you have learned that, you don't unlearn it. You just turn around and try it on your own. And so I think that's a plus.
Yeah, I think it's a great place for an author to get started because it's just not scary. You don't feel like you have to be as vulnerable. And usually they're working with a publisher that someone is a point person, as long as, that author's not the point person. I think it's a great place for an author to get their feet wet and get credibility. And it's kind of like that soft open, and then you get the courage to do the whole thing yourself.
Absolutely. And again, that's a nice starting point, especially when you have others that are right there with you and they have that common thought process, because you do have to have that. If not, then you're going in different directions. And so when you pull a group together, someone has to say, okay, where are we going? What's our mission? What are we trying to accomplish? How many words are we going to write? And are we going to have deadlines? And what do we need to do to make certain that we meet those deadlines? So you're working with your partners. You have partners, and you can be accountable to each other. Although some people may have external accountability partners, but when you're writing a collaborative book, you are partners, and you look at it as a partnership.
So tell me, when you're going through it, are your authors really collaborative through the whole process? So if you have 10 authors, they're all involved. Do they get assigned things to do? And how are you doing the process of the production and writing?
Okay, so first of all, there is a whole discussion. You always have to start off with a dialogue. What is our mission? What is our vision? What are we hoping to accomplish? When do we want to accomplish this task? So you right there have set up a dialogue with each other, of which communication is extremely important. Then the next step is then coming up with the deadlines. When are you going to have whatever you're writing? When are you going to have draft number 1? When are you going to have draft number 2? What kind of feedback are you going to provide each other? That is, if you are sharing what you're writing with your partners. If you're not sharing it with your partners, then is there someone else? Is there a coach that's coaching each of the writers through this process? And again, that's the value of working with an external partner or an external publisher, such as Anita Henderson, because she was in that role for us, as far as being the person who would coach each of the writers and encourage them to continue to write. In the meantime, the writers are talking to each other because they are contributing something. They are contributing dollars. They have signed a contract. That's important. We need to talk about what's in the contract.
Yeah.
How to get out of the contract if you don't want to write anymore, if you're having conflicts and it's just not working for you. So all of this is part of that process.
Yeah, it can be complicated. That's why I think it was good advice to say, be careful of the personalities you get involved. Now, I've been part of a compilation book where really the writers just were given the guidelines. They had to turn it in. They didn't have to necessarily talk with all the other authors, and some one point person was in charge of the whole project. So I've seen it where it's a collaboration and everybody's doing something and helping. And the other one is like, you write your chapter, give it to us, we'll take it from there. But then you're responsible to still market the book and do all that. So, and I will say, I love Anita. Anita is our official book coach for Elite Online Publishing, and she works with us one-on-one, and we just love her. So yeah, it's really kind of that dynamic. And does it make you crazy? Have you had how do you resolve conflicts when you have this going on? Like you said,
Yes,
you get out of the contract.
Yes, it can make you very crazy, very angry. You have to also understand that there's stages of group development. And there's one part of that stage that's called storming, and understand that there will be storming. It's part of the group process. And if you don't understand it, that's what I talked about. If you've never worked on a team, you're going to have to understand you go through storming. And there's a point when you get through the norming phase where you really understand the expectations. You all have pretty much bought into this is where you want to go, and you're writing now. You're writing. But don't go into a process not expecting to have some questions. In fact, go into the process asking questions. Now, you mentioned earlier that some collaboratives will give you the guidelines. You don't have to share that information with the other author. And there's one person that's taking all the information and putting it together. Now, that's the process that I'm involved in right now. I wrote the guidelines for the contributors. I gave them a deadline. I told them the number of words, the number of images. This is the theme. This is where we're going. And this is when I need to have everything together, of which my role then is to pull it all together. That's what I'm doing. It's easier. I don't have to deal with the group dynamics kind of stuff because everybody knows what they're writing because they have a template. Sometimes you don't have a template. Sometimes it's, this is the theme and this is what we're writing about. But you can take that theme and write in different ways. If it's women's health, you can take different aspects of women's health, and each person will take a chapter of women's health. That's your theme. Whereas with my theme, another theme could be family history. Well, what aspect of family history are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about the present, or are you going to go with the past? And how far back in the past are you going to go? So these are the things that you just need to talk about. Dialogue is important.
Yeah, communication, so they know deadlines, they know what to expect, the length of the chapter, if there's a call to action in the chapter, if they're going to have an author picture and a bio, all of that stuff included in there. And then, we've had authors that have come to us that they want to publish, but they don't have a budget to publish. And we've suggested doing a compilation book where they could charge people to be in the book. And I know even Jen Foster, my business partner, her very first book before we were in business together, she paid $3,500 a long time ago to be one of the authors in the chapter of the book. And they had a big ceremony and all this publicity and all this stuff that she got to be a part of and got so many books for it. So there's that way that would even cover the publishing cost, or for the coordinator could even make money and a way for them to get a book in by coordinating all that. So it's benefit that way. And since we're talking about money, how do you do the royalties in a compilation book?
It depends. If it's a group of people that have each contributed equal amount of money, and they should also receive royalties for that book. If, on the other hand, There's an author that has gone to a publisher, and a publisher then says, yes, I will publish your book. And you get contributors to that book. What they get is really a free ride. They don't have to pay a penny for it. It's the author, though, that's doing all the work and pulling it together. It's the author that should get the royalties. But all of that should be explained to the people so that they understand when they sign an agreement, it's a non-monetary agreement to participate in the book project. And you make it very clear. And then you have a meeting of which you answer the questions. When they say, well, why can't we get the royalties? Well, this is a 60,000 word book and you're putting in 500 words.
Yeah.
No, not exactly. The work is on the person that's pulling it all together.
Yeah.
And the agreement is between the author and the publisher. So
Yeah.
it's a difference. One is self-publishing, of which each collaborator is actually putting in money. That's a different story. The other is not a self-published book, but you have a publisher that's publishing it on your behalf, then you get the royalties.
Yeah, that brings up a good question. Well, I want to interject. We did a book called Authority. It was a compilation book. And we all agreed that all the royalties were going to go to Barbara Bush Literary Foundation, which we're big supporters of. So that way it was like, there's no argument. Then we just know it's going to get donated every year and it's doing something good. So you can agree to do almost anything, right? It can be who's going to get it, or it can go to a nonprofit. All right, let's talk about the authors' names, because that can be a really sticky point. Are the author's names going to be on the front cover of the book? Is everybody's name going to be on the book? Is everybody's name going to be able to be seen on Amazon when they pull it up? And is everyone going to get an Amazon author page, meaning that the book's going to link to that page, which is like a Facebook page on Amazon?
Okay.
On that.
If it's a partnership, I'm saying partnership model, because when I say partnership, that means that each of you are providing money. Yes, every person's name goes on the cover of the book. They have provided equal funds, therefore the name should be on the book. However, if the situation is different and you have a book publisher, it's the author's name that's on the book, but those that contribute, let's say a chapter, their name will be there, listing them as the contributor to that chapter. You want to give credit. You don't want to take somebody's work and the author takes credit for somebody else's work. So yes, it should be there. Now, when you have the author's page, I have an author's page, which includes my single book and a collaborative book. If you click just the collaborative book, you're going to see all of the authors. You're going to see their pictures. They're on my author's page, but you're going to see their pictures because they are the authors of the book. We also have our own website. Every author is on that website with their bio, with their picture, with a description of their chapter. And we gave, as a group, a name. We called ourselves the Memory Keepers. So that is our name, our official name. But that is how we handle getting credit for our work as partners or collaborators.
Now you keep referring to, well, the author of the book, and then you have contributors. How do you define who the author is when you have people all contributing different chapters?
I look at the author of the book as the person that has pulled all of the stories together, all of the information together, laid it out, started off with the beginning of the dedication to the getting someone to do the foreword, the acknowledgement, the introduction. That's the author that's doing that. The author in the acknowledgement will acknowledge the participation of each of the contributors. The introduction will acknowledge what is being contributed by each person. For example, the book that I'm working on now called The Black Homesteaders of the South. We know what states we're dealing with, and I know who is contributing to that particular state. Those individuals are acknowledged. Cannot write this book without not acknowledging their participation. There would be no book if I did not have these contributors. But we understand this is what this book is all about.
So
It's
someone is
changing the
the lead.
historical narrative. Yes.
Right. So someone's the lead, whoever the lead is on the project that is organizing it and putting it all together is the main author that gets credit for, has their name first. Because,
Yes.
that's the thing, the book we did, Authority, it was really a true collaborative effort. There was a pool of publishers that we came together and each brought clients in. So it was all kind of equal. We didn't have anybody that was stacked up, but we each had jobs, right? Since we all knew what it was, it's like, well, you're going to do the marketing, you're going to do the graphics, the 3D images, you're going to do this, you're going to do the accounting. So everyone had some kind of job that they were doing during the project.
Right. And that happens with the collaborative. I mean, the true collaborative. But the second part of what I mentioned to you is not self-published. There is a publisher. The publisher is handling the marketing, the distribution. Yes. Yes.
Well, I disagree on the marketing part because traditional publishers don't do any marketing.
Well,
Our experience.
no matter what, you're going to have to do the marketing.
Right.
I mean, you have to do the marketing of your book. How are you going to get the word out? And you know the population, you know who you're targeting this book for. And yes, obviously, you have to do marketing. Even the partnership model, we all have to do the marketing.
Yep.
And I love it because I could, just see the authors or the co-authors, if you will, kind of blossom. And they then reach out. One was going to churches and giving presentations, and another one to book fairs, and another one on a radio show. But that's what it's all about, to encourage each person. You're a publisher of this book. You are the author of this book. Go ahead on and push your book. And they have each said, let me tell you about my book.
I love that.
And I love it too. It's my book and they take ownership. So it's not just Bernice's book. It's that person's book and that person. And I love it. We talk and what are you doing with the book? Where are you going with it? And, that's the plus, that they are each taking ownership and feeling good about the fact that they have participated in this collaborative book process and the book has been published.
Yeah, I love that. It is something to be very proud of. And you come through, it's kind of like a wormhole of working with everybody. And it's a really reward afterwards. And we always tell our authors, once we make them a bestseller, well, shouldn't you be standing different? You should feel different. Your shoulders should go back a little more, right? How do you walk into a room as a bestseller? You have a different feel, or as an author. So are there any other tips you can think of that we missed about doing a collaboration book?
Once again, I would certainly encourage ongoing communications, that when you make that decision to become a part of a compilation process, that you have the commitment, you follow through with your commitment. If you have a problem, that's the time to talk about the problem. Just don't disappear. Don't become somebody on some reality TV show.
Yeah. Don't act like you're all pissy and don't talk anymore. And I'm just mad at those people.
I'm just mad.
Yeah.
This is not working because I'm not going to tell you that I have not heard of people never speaking again after going through this process.
I can imagine. And
because you're dealing with different personalities.
Yeah.
No matter what, you're dealing with human behavior. And you may have 5 people and all those 5 people want to be the boss. Somebody has to be the leader in this group.
What we didn't talk about which came up in our book, is chapter order. Because, Some people have, well, who's going to get the first chapter? Who's going to get the last chapter? Like that had more, more value, perceived value to be the first or the last chapter. We just drew names. We did like a little roulette thing and drew names. How do you do it to decide who gets what chapter?
Well, first of all, I'm doing it, the book I'm working on right now, I am doing it by state and dates, and they know that. So
chronological order makes it a lot easier.
It's so much easier for me to, and I've told them right up front, this is how the books are each chapter will be organized. First of all, we're going to go by state, which is alphabetical. And then we're going to go by the date, the earliest date that a person, let's say, owned land. And that's how it's going to work out. So it makes it real easy. We don't have to draw straws or anything.
Yeah, it's good. It's predetermined. So
predetermined. In fact, anytime you can sit down and map out what you want to do and you can lay it out, it makes it so much easier than to go in and you're still asking questions.
Yeah.
Put the guidelines first and then clarify.
Yep.
But don't walk in with a blank sheet of paper, not knowing where you're going.
And that's great advice for either if you're running a project or you're entering into it. If someone says, hey, let's do a compilation book and ask you, and they don't have a plan and they don't have it laid out, then you should run because it's not going to be a good experience. That's good to know. Where do you see the future of publishing, Bernice?
That's a really good question. Certainly, I do see that you will have people putting together more ebooks. I do see multiple publishers coming up, and let's say we have Kindle with Amazon, but you have Ingram Spark, you have all these different publishing companies out there. They may be starting their own online publishing companies too. You're going to have to do a lot of research because the publishers are out there, and study them and see what they can offer you.
I think it's great.
So the future is not going away. I don't think book writing is going away. In fact, I'd love to see even more people write.
Oh, me too. Definitely. The book has been around for thousands of years. Telling a story and storytelling, I think that's going to stay around. I think your point about, looking for people to work with that are innovative. So if you're working with companies and publishing companies and writers that are innovative and on top of the technology and the changing world, it's changing so fast right now. We're experiencing this exponential growth that's going so fast. I feel like it's hard to even keep up. So it's being aligned with the people that are on the forefront of that can give you the best experience. I agree, 100%. Thank you, Bernice. Really appreciate you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.